Today, I'd like to share with you how you got here from the current scientific model. So, according to the current scientific model, there was an episode called the Big Bang. The universe began with an event that was neither big nor did it bang, since there was no one there to hear it. But in any case, according to our current science, that happened 13.8 billion years ago. And then a process took place that scientists call cosmogenesis, the Planck epoch from 0 to 10 to the power of 43 seconds, when the four fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces, apparently unified. Then there was cosmic inflation, 10 to the power of 36 minus 36 to 10 to the power of minus 32 seconds after time zero. The universe underwent an exponential expansion. I've mentioned this before. It tripled every trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second to the size of a grapefruit from the size of a dot. And then it slowed down to where it is now. The diameter of the universe, visible universe, is about 98 billion light years. Okay, then there was something called the electro-weak epoch, 10 to the power of minus 12 seconds, when the electromagnetic and nuclear forces separated. This created the quark epoch, 10 to the power of minus 12 to 10 seconds, when quarks combine to form hadrons, including protons and neutrons. Then the hadron epoch from 10 to the power of minus 6 to 1 second, hadrons and antihadrons, particles and antiparticles, annihilated each other, leaving a small excess of matter, which is now the universe. Okay, so then, of course, there was the lepton epoch, the photon epoch. I'm going to skip all that to about 380,000 years, from 10 seconds onwards, post time zero, when the universe consisted mainly of photons with matter gradually forming. Okay, move fast forward with lots of gaps to the formation of planet Earth about 4.54 billion years ago. The solar system formed from a collapsing molecular cloud. Earth came into existence from the solar nebula and underwent differentiation to core, mantle, and crust. And then the moon formed from a Mars-sized object colliding with the Earth. Now fast forward with several gaps. Biological evolution, according to the current scientific model, abiogenesis, 3.5 to 4 billion years ago, the first life forms emerged, likely from self-replicating RNA molecules. These are known, the first life forms are called chemolitho-autotrophic hyperthermophiles, lived on the rims of volcanoes. Then about 3.5 billion years ago, prokaryotic life began, single-celled organisms without a nucleus. Eukaryotic life started about 2.5 billion years ago. Cells with a nucleus and organelles evolved. Multicellular life began about 1.5 billion years ago. Organisms consisting of multiple cells evolved. Then there was Cambrian explosion 540 million years ago. A rapid diversification of animal phyla occurred. Terrestrial life started 460 million years ago. Plants and animals began to colonize land. Dinosaurs existed 230 to 66 million years ago and dominated the earth. Mammals emerged 200 million years ago after the extinction of dinosaurs. Primates appeared 65 million years ago. The first primates evolved into hominins 7 million years ago. The human lineage separated from chimpanzees, and Homo sapiens appeared 300,000 years ago. Okay, that's not the whole story. After your father and your mother met with a gleam and a twinkle in their eyes, you began existence as a fertilized egg, a sperm cell fused with an egg to form a zygote. Then there was cleavage. The zygote underwent rapid cell division without increasing in size. Then there was gastrulation. The embryo formed three germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Then there was organogenesis. Organs and tissues develop from the germ layers. And finally, birth happened. Infancy and childhood, rapid growth and development occurred. Adolescence, sexual maturation, cognitive development took place. Adulthood, physical growth occurred, or adulthood physical growth stopped, and the individual reached reproductive maturity, and then soon followed by old age, physical and cognitive decline, death, and the recycling of life. The organism's vital functions ceased. There was decomposition. Microorganisms and other decomposers broke down the organism's tissues, and then recycling. The chemical elements that made up the organism returned to the environment, becoming available for new life to utilize and recycle and evolve. Okay, so that's the current model. And even right now, as you're experiencing a body-mind, there's lots happening. Your body is constantly recycling, renewing itself at the cellular level. This process is known as cellular turnover or cell regeneration. Different cells and tissues in the body are recycling at varying rates of regeneration. And skin cells approximately 27 to 28 days, red cells 120 days, liver cells every 150 to 300 days, intestinal cells every 2 to 4 days, bone cells constantly being remodeled every 3 months, and on and on. This is the mystery of our existence as recognized through only when we started to speak language, create language models. Now, of course, we have AI, but first language models, narrative language, about 40,000 years ago. Then the human brain grew explosively with written language. 15,000 years ago, oral language, and maybe 5,000 years ago, written language, and then language models and mathematics, and now large language models through AI. This is the history of you as a human. But this is a history which is based on language and language models depending on a finite brain. There was no one to experience this and no one to explain it till we kind of showed up, and other organisms showed up, but they didn't have a narrative to create a model of this. So is this truth? My friends, this is not truth. It cannot be truth. The finite brain, which is amazing that it can comprehend all that, but it might be getting us closer to the truth. But even now, the scientific models, dark energy, dark matter, Planck epoch, inflation, all of this is totally unexplainable, including the Big Bang. So what created the universe and how did you emerge? What is the real truth, aside from language models, mathematical models, scientific models, mythical models, all kinds of models? These are still models of reality. What is reality? So, there's something that we know, and what I've just shared with you is what we presume to know through science and the scientific model. But then what I've also showed you is all the gaps of what is unknown. But there's a deeper mystery, which is the unknowable. How can a finite mind in a finite, working through a finite brain with finite perceptual activity, with a narrow band of electromagnetic activity somehow appearing as the physical reality that we experience. And we don't even know how that happens. That's the hard problem of consciousness. How can that comprehend the great mystery of existence? The unknowable. The unknowable. And when we surrender to the unknowable and merge with it by going beyond the senses, then we are closer to truth, which is literally incomprehensible. And then we have only one choice: surrender to the divine mystery, which is unknowable. So this is what it means to call the unknowable, the inscrutable, formless mystery of existence. As some great scientists, I think it was Freeman Dyson, who said, God is what mind becomes when it goes beyond the limits of our comprehension. And there is nothing more beautiful than to surrender to it. Nothing more beautiful than to surrender with it. Somewhere here I had a beautiful poem of Tagore that in a way summarizes all this. But I'll end with something that Rumi said. Each of us is a walking universe. And he said, don't act small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. But don't act big either from your egocentric point of view. The real you is the incomprehensible mystery of existence.